Oh, good. Cheers. Greg?
I'm the only one not drinking here.
What the hell? It's a party.
I know. It's Friday night.
I know. So we'll start really quickly because people will come in, and if they don't, that's cool. We get it's Friday. Tell Greg what you're covering right now, and then we can kind of go through the press conference stuff. And just background for Greg, he was a news director for years, among other things, and then took this communications role. And we often like to just go back and forth about
stupid things reporters do.
Yes, funny things reporters do. I was going to say funny. And this was just a conversation we had the other day, and we just thought it was perfect because for people like you might not, you might just not know what to ask at a press conference or a press conference. I know, it's like a press director, whatever you call it.
When you call a PIO, whether it's even if you just pick up the phone and you say, hey, do you have anything going on today? Do you think if they had something good, they'd tell you?
Mm-hmm. But it's funny because I read all those questions. Everywhere I work, they all ask that.
Well, yeah.
So I was shocked.
So, Gail, what do you cover? Are you GA or you have a beat?
I'm GA.
Okay.
Today was we have NASCAR at where I am at. Yeah, and this weekend is the opening of the track, Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, sure.
Yeah, so I just covered the first event today. I do a lot of human interest stories, so I rarely go to press conferences. I've been to one.
But do you call PIOs or? I mean, Greg makes a good point. Do you call PIOs or public information officers?
Not really, but I do. My assignment editor does, and he does say that every day when he does his beat calls. He goes, "Hey, what's going on? Anything newsworthy today?" He's been doing it for 30 years.
The answer is never going to be yes, ever.
I don't think it really is either, because we don't get anything.
Right.
But he's also been there for 30 years, so he knows all the bodies. It's such a small town. But yeah, that's interesting when I saw.
But he also goes through the calls because that's just, quote, what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Which the whole thing's backwards. All right. So let's use the NASCAR example, because so much of being a reporter is knowing what to expect and what to go after. So you said you do a lot of lifestyle featurey type stories. Well, those are so friggin' predictable. So you went to the track today, and New York's getting excited about NASCAR. NASCAR is back. The racers are here. They had this kickoff event today, and everybody's excited, and the weather was great, and it's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you went out tomorrow and say, I'm going to find an angle to this that nobody knows about. I'm going to find something that they never talk about, and do something memorable, do something interesting. So the lesson in the field is the same, whether you're talking to the PIO or you're at a press conference. Stephanie and I go back and forth, and I joke because in my chair now, I can steer reporters anywhere I want to take them. They'll call with a story that I don't want them to do because it's going to make our school district look bad, and I'll move them right over to a nice feature story. And I'll tell them, no, you're not going to get anywhere on that. There's really nothing to that. Not that I'm lying to them. I mean, if there's something to it, I won't say there's nothing to it, but I'll say, I got this really good, I got a great tell if you want to do it today. And countless times I've moved them away,
Intentionally or not? Intentionally?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, my job's not to set the table for you to break a board over my head.
Right.
I mean, I respect the idea that bad news has to be covered, but I don't have to hand it to you. I'm going to make you work for it and find it, which comes back to the next part of that.
Right.
How can I find out about this incident? Those kind of things. If you don't understand the paperwork process of something, like if the police department says, yeah, we don't really want to talk about that right now. It's an active investigation. Well, did you get the initial incident report? Because the initial incident report, even the basic facts of it, is a public record that they have to release. And hey, dogs, will you stop them? Our dogs are wrestling.
I can hear them.
Yeah. So it's understanding the systems of which you work and not just taking, oh, okay. My favorite one, though, is when people call and they'll ask you one question and they won't follow back up, because I'm not going to lie to you in the answer. I'm going to tell you, well, like this one. Is that investigation closed? No, it's still active. Oh, okay. Well, why not come back with, when do you anticipate it closing? Is there, and then I might say, well, they're human resources is telling me it'll close by Friday. Oh, so can I get the paperwork then? No, you can't. Because in our school district, when an investigation closes, from the day it closes, there's a 10-day period of a moratorium before you can have the public documents. So knowing that, all you need to know is what day the investigation closed on, write on your calendar, follow up in 10 days, and have it. But so many times reporters just go away and go, oh, okay, and they'll call back every day. And I'm like, no, it's still active. No, it's still active. And they don't ask the question, is it close to closing? Because I know when they're going to reassign the person, or it clears out. So, but my favorite one with the press conference is, and the rookie reporters do this all the time. I'll listen, and I used to see this as a manager too. You see the soundbite go by, and you say to them, why didn't you follow up on that? Did you hear what he or she just said? And their answer is, well, yeah, I heard it now, but I didn't hear it at the time. Why? Because you were so busy, with a nod going, okay, what's my next question? What's my next question? Let me get my next question ready. That they gave you, there's been, 50 times I can remember over 20 years where I heard something, even when I was behind the camera, you'd hear the guy go, the person would spit out the sound bite and you go, he just gave you a better story. And it went right over your head.
Right.
You didn't even hear. Because the clues are in there if you followed up with the question to go back after him.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you an MMJ? You are, aren't you?
Yeah, just on the weekends, but
so you're shooting at the same time, which makes it even harder to listen.
Yeah, actually, no, I've been dealing with it okay.
So next interview you do, whether it's NASCAR or not, listen closer to what they're saying, and just promise yourself, I'm not going to go to the next question that I have in my head. I'm going to just listen to what they say, and I'm going to follow up with them on some part of what they just said. Go back to them, because the more you dig into it, the better it gets. I did it today with, I'm working on a documentary. We have some kids from a poor farm town who are going to compete in the world championships for robotics. This is the last place in the world you'd think a robotics team would come out of, the first team that's ever done it. And oh, by the way, they'd have only been building robots for a year. And so I asked the girl twice, and it came at her from two different angles. I said, how much does this mean to you coming from here? And she said, oh, it means a lot. I said, no. Keep coming. You are changing history here. And she goes, oh, yeah. She goes, my parents thought it was, a joke that we were going and that we would never be able to do this kind of thing. But people look at us funny. We go to competitions. People look at us funny. This is a senior in high school because she's from a poor town. Mm-hmm. And she goes, but when we get outside of where we live, we're heroes. And she just strung all this together in a way that when I go back to write this thing, there's no way I could have said it better than she did. And quite frankly, there's no way I could have said it more powerful than her saying it. But I had to read her there a couple of times and just let her find it on her own.
Yeah, I've done that with the student too. It was like some bullying thing, and it was very similar. She was hosting this anti-bullying campaign for the YWC, and I said, tell me what this means to you. And she said, oh, so much. And I said, well, how are you helping? And then she just went on and said, there's a girl in my group that's having trouble, so it's not just me. And she just went on, and I was like, it just brings more compelling.
Well, exactly. Your line of questioning could have been in one word. Why? Mm-hmm. Why are you doing this? I use the why answer. I do it with our school principals too. If you don't explain the why, or you don't ask for the why is everything. The hows, the whats, the wheres don't matter. The why matters.
That was today too. Because the race today was about, this one was students, engineering or car students. They were just driving energy efficient cars. So it was just simple. I asked the teacher, why is this important? And he just went on. It was nice. He was just talking about the future.
But let me just, and Gail, this is obviously kudos to you for just being in your first job and doing, and being able to understand that the why is important. But I think Greg makes a really good point, which is it's beyond, there's surface level questions, and then there's why, the second level, right? The second tier of questions that'll really get to the meat of stuff. Is that what you're kind of going for, Greg?
Yeah, it's people's motivation. Because there's nothing. I'm scared for the news business right now, because the reporting I'm seeing being done is surface level. It's shallow. It's predictable. It's the same story I covered 15 years ago. Same story Stephanie did 10 years ago, same story you're going to do tomorrow. And it's done the exact same way. And viewers aren't there anymore for that. You know, and then, oh, by the way, there's this whole social media thing that's going to tell the story as well. So I've already heard the story,
Right.
which really leaves to you as the reporter. What can you go get that isn't a 20-second clip that's on Facebook? It's not your live shot on Facebook Live. How can you really go tell stories that matter? What's funny is with the story you just told, I come from an investigative nature. So I'm going to take your feature story, I'm going to blow a hole through it, which is you just told me that you went to a NASCAR track because NASCAR's in town. NASCAR is the least fuel efficient sport in the world.
Oh, it's not NASCAR. I was saying NASCAR is coming up, so it's one of it's like the track is opening.
Right. But so they're taking energy efficient cars to the track. There's a bit of a oddness there, isn't it? Talking energy efficiency before a race comes to town that's anything but efficient. It's great. But it's just two total ends of the spectrum. It's kind of like when we're talking about denying climate change. You know, I'm a fan of, and it doesn't make you popular. If you show up and you start asking tough questions, people won't like you. Mm-hmm. But it is our duty, and I see so much, and I see that just when I interact with them. It's like you should be pressing this issue. If you're really here for the people to ask the questions and say, no, that's not a good enough answer. There's not enough of those reporters anymore that will do that. And again, you're in your first job. You're just worried about putting the story together. You're figuring out how everything works, making a slot. Absolutely.
No, but I think it's about not being afraid, right? I mean, figuring out what your identity is as a reporter. And then once you establish that and figure out what your comfort zone is, I mean, if you're not, you're not, right? I mean, I think we both know, Greg, like not everybody's that kind of reporter. They're just not.
No. But you also need to know that when a police tries to move you off of a place and says you have to move,
you know what your rights are.
You need to know what public property is and your rights of where to stand.
Right.
You need to know. I once had a photographer get arrested at a riot because the police officer told him to turn off his camera. What he meant to say was turn off your light because the light was drawing people in. But they don't have a constitutional right to tell you to turn your camera off. You know, and the same thing with documents. That's what I was kind of going with like if you get assigned to a story like that, you need to understand what the local government, the local police department, the school district, what are the processes and procedures for getting paperwork. That may not get you in the first month, but later on you'll break a story somebody else won't because you understand where to find things.
Mm-hmm. And I think
that's the work you want to do now before you need it.
Yeah, and I think and like I was talking about your identity as a reporter, I think that's you make a good point. That's a different conversation. It's just a matter of understanding what your role and, like he said, your duty is as a reporter, and it is to kind of go beyond the press release. An assignment editor is going to hand you a press release, but it's your job to go and do the research and figure out, okay, this is the story that the PR person has constructed that they want you to do. But what is the story that you should be doing that people should know? And I agree, and when Greg was my boss, I mean, that was every day. It was like, okay, here's my press release. Great. I know where to be, but let me throw this piece of paper out and figure out what the story is. And that's a lesson that took me to New York. I mean, not everybody likes it.
It's the idea of always be willing to upgrade. Because if you go out the door with a story, you did not go out the door with the best story of the day. The best story of the day may approach you in the middle of it. And I had reporters that were actually afraid to call, or worse, they would hold on to the story and say, well, I'll just pitch this tomorrow. Well, no, if it's better than the story you have today, break it today. Don't worry about holding it for another day. But the other thing is context. Is when I said about the shallow reporting, is people go out and they just go, okay, this is what this story brought today. The one I love, we'll use a NASCAR example. People love to talk about economic impact. Oh, NASCAR coming to town is a $5 million economic impact for the Elmira area this weekend. Really? According to whom?